We're in the parent grid, persons. Now it's going to show you how we can easily create a child for this parent grid. You can click on detail and it comes up with a pop-up where you create a child with existing table, or you can create a new table on the fly. You can do it that way, or you can go back and you can do it with the automatic tab creation layout, doing the same thing. So what we do, we use an existing table, and the one I've been using is bank, and bank and we can select the fields that are associated with that table for the child, and there we have it. Add a child record from existing database table, generate code. Only takes a few seconds, and it gets built in the Visual Studio, creates all the views and everything required, and then we can go exit the browser and reload solution from Visual Studio. Let's go and do it. Okay, now we're back in the person's grid, so let's see if we have that child bank table created. Yes, we have. I've got some records in already, and there we can see banks, and we can see 2 bank records, and we can edit the bank records the same. Edit, you can create a new bank, all the CRUD ability that the parent one has, except it doesn't have search, but you could put search in because that's in the code behind. Also, you can edit the actual persons as well. And the other way of looking at this child, you can look at the child from a pure tabbed instance, and there we have it there. So that's the child being created, all working beautifully. Now, also, you have the ability, if you made a problem or you made a change or you made a mistake in your child screen, or you want to make a change, you can delete the child straight away and start again. So with this button here, the delete, I'll just show you, you click on the delete and you can delete the left tab grid, child grid, and you can delete the code and the table at the same time, or you just delete the code. In this case, I'll just delete the code and keep the table bank so I can use it later. So we click on delete code, and there the bank's child grid is being deleted, and I'll just come back and show you. Okay, I'm back in the parent grid, and I'll just show you that the bank's child grid has been deleted, and sure enough it's gone. We've got the screen to add a new child coming up automatically. So that all works. What I'll just show you is adding a child grid with a new table on the fly. So I'll just go into detail, and we can create a new table on the fly at the same time as creating all the code. So we put in a new table called shares. We give it a program name as shares. We give it an ID, share ID, and we call it company, address, and transaction date, and maybe amount, and that could be a decimal, and that's a date. So what's going to happen here, we're going to create the table shares and the code all at the same time. So we just generate code, and it only takes a few seconds to see that it's all been created in Visual Studio, and there we are. And it's all been done. We just exit the browser and come back and show you the result. I'll just show you the table has been created in Visual Studio in SQL Server. At the moment it's not there, you can't see it there, there's no shares, but if we do a refresh on the tables, you can see that shares has come up, and there's the new table. So I'll just show you how it looks in the browser. Here we are in the parent grid, and I'll just drill down into the child, and there's the shares, the new grid with the new table. But there's no record in there at the moment, no data, so we can add a new share. Adelaide, Adelaide Street, I don't know, just test, so we put NAB, and we can put a date, and the amount, and there we have it. That's the amount, and that's the shares. All done. And we can see we can do a PDF, has all the credibility as before. Okay. Now I'll just put in another child. So we're going to add another child, but we're going to use an existing table, and that was the one we used before, bank. So let's put in bank again, and we call it banks, and we just put in the name, phone, email, website, and just create that as well. And I'll show you how it looks then. So then we'll have two child grids for the same parent. One called shares, one called banks. Okay, we're back in the parent grid again, and I'll just show you the banks. And there we have the shares, and the bank record should come up, and there's the two banks coming up again. So we have shares and banks, and we can delete the banks and delete the shares, and we can add another child with these tabs, buttons. But okay, I'll just show you adding a grandchild just to finish off that you can do parent, child and grandchild. So we go into detail, and up comes adding a new grandchild. In this case, we're going to use an existing database table again, call accounts, and we're going to call it accounts, put in the field names, column names, and it picks up the right types automatically, and it creates all the data, all the code in the background, and puts it in Visual Studio, and there we have it's done. Once again, we exit and come back, and I'll show you the grandchild.